just going to go ahead and begin with a brief intro. I am Nada Riskin, Program Manager of Project W. Project W is Davis Wright's commitment to helping women succeed. We work with our women attorneys here to curate and create programming for female founders to help them find the tools, resources, and networks they need to grow and scale their companies. We have a number of accelerator programs that help us accomplish that goal, and applications have just opened for our annual and signature Women Entrepreneur Bootcamp program. It's uniquely designed to help propel seed stage female founders of tech-enabled companies, and I'll drop a link in the chat for anyone who is interested in applying. And with that, I am so thrilled to be introducing our host and the brainchild of this event series, Tiffany Stannard, CEO and founder of Stimulus. Tiffany and I met through actually one of Project W's accelerator programs, and she had the idea for an event series focused on supply chain issues specifically. We are so happy to be collaborating with her and Black and Brown founders to host today's event. So I'm going to pass it over to her to introduce today's program and panelists.
Thank you so much, Netta. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Tiffany Stannard. I am the founder and CEO of Stimulus, Inc. And I really wanted to create a series of events to help companies, especially CPG companies, really, explain how they're navigating supply chain issues and discuss industry trends, but then also really highlighting the work that, amazing Black and Brown women are doing within the industry, and, inviting them to have a conversation about more than being Black women in tech, but talking about supply chain, to margins, to how they're navigating pricing, to local buy versus international buy. And our first event really focused on sustainability. We did it throughout Earth Month. And then this one is focusing on, CPG and prepping for the holidays and closing out the year. And then our final event is really focused on blockchain and understanding and navigating that. So whether you are a new company or been in the industry for a while, and you're just trying to really learn new and, better processes, this is the conversation for you. And, excited to work with Project W and Black and Brown founders, in which I've had the opportunity to work with them in a couple of different ways over the last couple of years. So again, my company is Stimulus, Inc., and we are a tech startup providing software to really help companies make better purchasing decisions and build more valuable relationships with their vendors and discover new vendors, such as the companies that will be speaking here today. I've been lucky to have amazing partners and investors like Google and Morgan Stanley, and really helping to elevate the importance of not only making great decisions, but also diversifying your supply chain. So I'm excited to welcome the four ladies and their panelists to really talk about their industry, what they're building, and really giving solutions to the audience of how to build these great businesses. So we're going to start and allow them to really give an intro and talk about their company. So I'm going to start with Kim Roxy. She is the founder and CEO of Lamix Beauty.
Hey everybody. Hey. Oh my goodness. I am so excited to be on this panel. Tiffany, thank you for just being a visionary and allowing us to talk about more than just our complexion and our and all of that, right? Like, we used to talk about supply chain today, so I'm really excited. I'm Kim Roxy, Kimroxie, and I'm the founder of Lamix Beauty. Lamix is a tech-enabled clean color cosmetic brand that focuses in on the demographic of women who spend 80% more on cosmetics, but only get about 5% of the shelf space. And that's women of color. And 75% of beauty products marketed to women of color are toxic. And we're here to fix that. My mother passed away from metastatic breast cancer, which is a pandemic in the lives of Black women right now. And I was diagnosed with a form of alopecia, where my eyebrow hairs fell out. Now, I know you can't tell, because you like, girl, your eyebrows popping. They popping. But I use our Revelation Brow Duo for that, okay? So, but I'm so excited to be here and talk about it, because the behind the scenes is not as glamorous as the in front of the scenes when it comes to supply chain sometimes. But I must say, if you are a person listening in Get your notepad out, tweet it. Like, I'm on a panel with some of the most brilliant women that are in the CPG industry right now. And I'm just honored to even be a part. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. So Sherelle Mosey, she is the founder and CEO of Minky Blue. Quick background and overview of your company.
So, hey, everybody, my name is Sherelle Mosey, and I too am very excited to share my experiences with you. We're going to be keeping it real today, so that's what I'm excited about. There's no fluff. We're going to tell you what the good is, the bad. And so you are in for a treat today to really help you navigate. So my product behind me, you'll see, my company is called Minky Blue, and I design organizational bags that has a patented folding shelf in the middle of the bag. So it's very unique, and I'm happy to share more about that. But we're really going to be talking about the supply chain and how we can help you navigate the system. So thank you so much for having me on the panel.
Thank you, Sherelle. And then next we have Sierra Imani May, founder and CEO of Rebundle.
Hey everyone, and thank you, Tiffany, for inviting me and having me this time. Like she said, my name is Sierra. I am the CEO and founder of Rebundle, where we make plant-based braiding hair. We just launched this year, so I'm probably one of the newer companies on this panel, but I'm also sure you probably heard of us, and that's how large our impact has been in such a short amount of time. So happy to be here and to talk about the world of plant-based hair extensions.
Awesome, thank you so much. And last but not least, Terry Nichelle Bradley. She is the founder and CEO of Brown Toy Box.
Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Terry Bradley, Brown Toy Box, principal of Play. I'm excited to be here because one, these are some really amazing women that are going to be talking about sharing game on supply chain, and really just talking about, I call it my lessons and landmines, and telling you where those landmines are in this space, and so you can avoid those. We are a children's educational product company creating toys, books, games, content, and experiences that center and celebrate Black children in a way that all kids can have fun and enjoy. We are working to disrupt the $27 billion US toy industry, $90 billion globally, where Blacks remain really unrepresented in the toy aisle, especially when we take dolls out of the equation. We are not a doll company. We are centered 100% on educational play.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Terry. So we're going to jump right in. An hour goes by very quickly, and we want to make sure that we can answer as many questions as possible and really give solutions to the audience. So I want to jump into, so we have across the board, we have a toy box company, we have hair, we have makeup, we have fashion, the fashion bags. So what goes into building your actual product without giving anything proprietary away? But describe the process and how did you get started, which led you here today. So I will start with Sierra because I'm so excited to hear from her. The process when it comes to hair and the process when it comes to, extensions, for whether you're a woman of color or not. It is not normal for your hair to be itchy. It's not normal, but it's been a bad thing in the Black and brown community for a really long time. So for her to be that first in the industry, the first US made plant-based braiding hair, I want to go into your experience of starting this company and launching this year, Sierra.
Yeah, and that's a really great way to provide context and like the why. So like many of you probably experience irritation, could be even hair loss or just really severe discomfort. And I just decided that I didn't accept that experience. I knew it was something that we didn't deserve for a product that we primarily consume and then dispose of once we're done with it. So I started by researching what plastic synthetic hair was made out of, ordered some lab samples, did customer discovery around that, and just trying to get a closer answer as to what was causing that irritation. And then from there, decided on an alternative material. If it wasn't going to be made out of plastic, what else could it be made out of? So did research on plant fibers, settled on banana fiber because of how closely it matches our hair texture, the density, the texture, and those sorts of things, the dyeability. And so from there, it became a matter of like, okay, we have something that looks like straw. How do we make it look like hair? And so as you can see from my hair now, it is as good as we need for the experience that we don't accept with plastic. So it looks and feels like hair, which was the point. So yeah, I would just say that the process is literally turning it from straw-like to hair-like with a variety of variables and temperature and time to make that process as fluid as possible.
Awesome. I love that. And starting with research is what it sounds like, just going into what we've been used to, what we've been dealing with, not necessarily should be over these decades, right? And wanting to change that process and know that it's not normal to deal with that, and looking at the alternative to not only for your hair, but for your skin. You know what I mean? You get that irritation, like you said, your hair falls out, like that's not supposed to be a part of your beauty. So I really love that. So we're going to go next to Kim. What does it take to make that brow duo? Like, how did you start that process, finding, you know, those vendors to work with, and really bringing it to life, and packaging, of course?
Yeah, so being in the beauty industry is sort of like a calling for me, because I went out thinking, you know, I'm gonna go to this particular like chemist show that I went to, and I said, you know, if I find out how to get a manufacturer, then I'll do it. If I don't, then I'm not, kind of thing, you know. And when I went out, I ended up running across someone who was a chemist, and he heard my idea around creating this brow duo that was free of talc and parabens and stuff like that. And so he actually became like a mentor to me and taught me how to make makeup. Like, took me in. He had just retired from a major company that we all know, that owns a lot of different brands. And he just took me and set me down and taught me how to make everything, really. You know, makeup starts a lot of times in the lab, like, you know, experimenting, being able to have colors that like fit more skin tones. That takes a lot of experimenting, a lot of trying out. And then when you think about like the package that it comes in, you know, being able to find that and source that. When you think about even simple as like what the product is going to be held inside. I thought about, you know, the actual disposing of the actual package. What is that life cycle going to be like with that? And thinking that through, and kind of going through the whole process of when the customer gets the package, what do we want that whole experience to be like? And so even with our packaging, we have like a tutorial on our packaging, because what I would hear is women, you know, I got it, how do I use it? And instead of it sitting in their drawer, right, or either just trying it sometimes, I want them to use it every day. And so we put a tutorial on the package. So like when you think about, you know, making the product, that's one part, but then also you want your customer to use the product, use it, and then want more of it, you know. And so when we think about that, like even with that part, so I do a lot of sourcing of trying to do it more domestically. So we make our products here in the US, and we make a lot of it actually here in Houston. And that was important because I wanted to have my eyes on things. I didn't want to get something and sort of be like, what does this look like? Like, this is not what I ordered, you know, and sort of kind of being able to be on the pulse of it a little bit more. And so, you know, that might cost more sometimes, or you know, or what have you, but to me is sort of worth it in our field.
Yeah, good point. We're going to touch on that a little bit, of local buy versus obtaining and building out your product in other countries. And it can be more expensive here locally, but if you are able to see your product quicker, and, you know, I mentioned in a call yesterday that a friend of mine who's also building out makeup had to fly to China just to verify that she was getting her product correctly, because every time she got it was incorrect. So it kind of balances out after a while, right? That it's local is a little bit more expensive, but the ease of mind and being able to change things quickly is there in front of you versus waiting weeks or months, depending on what you're building. So cool. Thank you. So now we're going to switch to Terry. Speak about your company and how you're sourcing the products and kind of what is your process to build it out. And as you're prepping to really launch in Target this year, and I'll come back to you, Kim, about your prep to really launch in Ulta. But Terry, I'm gonna pass it to you.
Sure. So all of our work starts with R&D. And so a lot of our research starts actually in schools, right? So we wanted to, like Kim was talking, we wanted to be high touch, right? So we wanted to test out some concepts, put things in front of kids, see if they liked it, that kind of thing. Schools welcome us in because we're all STEAM focused, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And so they welcome us in, but then from that, we get a lot of good data, right? So we want to be very data driven in all that we create and not go on just kind of what we think kids like or what we think, but we really want to make sure that we're testing those things out. So we start there with R&D on concepts. And then from there, I go into working with my toy designers. And actually creating the mechanical drawings and creating the framework for what we're going to build. We create our products internationally. So all of our things are sourced in China. So we have a manufacturing rep that's on the ground there so they can go check and do quality control and those kind of things, because that's really important when you're working with a mass retailer, that you're able to pass certain audits and those kind of things. And so we get everything manufactured in China, and then we get it shipped back here to our warehouse, and we distribute from there. So we've got a couple sides to our business. We have a school side to our business, where we have kind of curated kits, and then the retail, and then our direct to consumer. So there's multiple steps in each part of those processes. I'm sure it is for everyone, but I think the most important thing is making sure that you're creating something that you're using data to create, to make sure that there is a market and there's a desire for it.
Right. So really building out that community that you can kind of constantly go back and check and get feedback on current and upcoming, products and things that you want to utilize, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on, we'll be launching in Target in October. And I think really for so many of us, I know Kim's launching, I don't know if you already launched in Ulta. Yes. And so, I mean, I think, because of COVID, because of what happened with George Floyd, opportunities opened up for us. And we have to be really honest about why some of these opportunities opened up. They should have been opened, but whatever it took, right? And so for that, we have to make sure that, we are, you still have to be really buttoned up. And so that process of, and we kind of talked about this yesterday, getting invited into these stores and then being able to get onto the shelf, like your internal operational process, you got to have it really, really tight, and just have different, really simple things like UPC codes. Like, I'm surprised by how many people don't know that they need to have UPC codes for their products, So things like that are things that you should have ready before you're even thinking about going into retail. Those are all things that we got to make sure that we're on top of before we ship one thing back from our manufacturer to our warehouse.
Got it. And we're going to touch more on that, of how to get ready to sell online, pitch into retail, and then prepping to get into retail and then staying relevant while you're on the shelves. So Sherelle, we're going to jump into you fresh off your Today Show debut. I think there's a second time one, so we want to touch on that. And what does it go, the process that goes into building your bags. And then you also have a workshop that kind of talks about your process and helping companies build out their products and all of the trials and tribulations that you went through and simplifying it basically for them.
Yeah, so just like everybody else, I started my business because of a problem. So my problem is that, I was taking the train in the city. I had my lunch bag, my purse, my laptop bag. And I'm like, I'm struggling with 2 or 3 bags carrying it. And I looked around on the train. I was like, a lot of women carrying 2 or 3 bags. So I wanted to design a bag where I could organize and separate my shoes or my lunch from my purse essentials. I didn't want to mix up my banana with my shoes and put it at the bottom of the bag. But when I started my business, the handbag industry is oversaturated. I mean, there's so many brands that we don't even know about. So I said, if I was going to do this, I needed to be different. I needed to really, really differentiate myself through this. So I started doing some research on patents I started because I had this idea for the shelf in the middle of the bag. So I said, I wonder if this already exists. And so I started my research on patents, and I started studying patents, and I started just researching and shopping to see if I could find this idea that I had in my head. And when I couldn't find it, I actually, because I spent so much time with patents, I wrote my first provisional patent for this idea. And then, like Kim, I actually found someone who had retired from a well-known handbag company in Jersey, and he did my first sample. I made my first prototype, but he did my sample, and then we just kind of tweaked it and went through so many iterations. And I was so nervous about going to manufacture. I kept on going back to him to tweak it, tweak it, tweak it, and he became a mentor to me. Say, no, you are ready. Stop right here, and let's go and manufacture. So you do have to spend some time to study, understand what it is that you're trying to do, talk to people who else has this problem, who wants it. And so, but that was my process of starting the bag. Number one, I knew I needed to differentiate myself from everything else on the market.
Yeah, I hand down the customer. She knows I have 2 bags, and then I've given them away for Christmas and birthday presents, because I am definitely a bag lady. So I needed to consolidate when I travel. So I love that. And I love, the different workshops that I've seen you do over time to really go through the trials and tribulations that you've experienced, and to, take away some of that pain in the beginning stages, especially when you're building locally or in, another country. So I want to dive deep into kind of, what's happening right now in the pandemic, and how that has changed, helped, or hurt your business. And especially when choosing a vendor to build out your product, whether in the US or internationally, what have you learned? And how did you gain that knowledge to really negotiate pricing and shipping costs and things of that nature? Sierra, I'm gonna start with you. Are you built here locally? Are you in another country? And kind of how did you learn that process since you just launched this year?
Yeah, so we decided that because of what we were building and how unique and proprietary it was, that we would need to maintain that in the short term. It doesn't mean that's how we will continue to grow, but it's where we landed on because it made sense for our business model. So we make everything in-house in our warehouse in St. Louis, Missouri, and have already grown out of that space, moving into a new space here soon. So I think for us, it really comes down to like the importance of maintaining privacy and using that as our advantage, the things that we've been able to do in this amount of time and ahead of our competitors who truly are overseas and where plastic synthetic hair is made. So we're going to continue to maintain that until it's not necessary anymore.
I love that. So basically you say you're growing so fast, you're about to get a whole new building.
Yeah, I just signed that letter of intent the other day. It's like we moved in earlier this year. It doesn't make sense for us to stay there anymore. So we're going to move on. We're going to move up.
I love that. And every time I go to your website, I'll be ready to buy hair. You sold out. So you definitely are growing quickly and people are loving your product. I've seen you featured in so many different places. And not only just solving the problem of, what we spoke about earlier of just better products for our hair, but that sustainability that you have with your product of recycling. And that's like the next wave, pre-COVID, but especially during COVID, of, having a sustainable product and not wasting if you do not have to.
Yeah.
Global warming, all of those, right?
Yeah. And even to add to that, like that's an integral part of our business model. And so to outsource so soon, we don't have those assurances that our partners would maintain that same level of responsibility. So we can control that in the short term until we can find a place for our partners who believe in the work that we're doing at scale, so that we all agree that this is how business should be done.
I love that. And Kim, I'm gonna switch it to you. Same question, COVID change helped or hurt your business? And then how are you selecting the vendors that you work with to, build out your product, and then negotiating of those prices and kind of preparing for kind of what the next year or two will look like, even though we kind of don't know?
Yeah, exactly. And So we launched like March of last year, Lamique 2.0. Before that, I had a makeup shop that I ran for 14 years. And so we launched the beginning of last year, and it was just like, to be honest, you know, COVID really helped our business in regards to everybody being front and center and ready for what we were coming to deliver. So what I was saying was, I want to make it easier for you to buy makeup online than it was in person. And for most consumers, I was just like, no, girl, I need to see, I need to try it on, I need to do all of that. But because of COVID, you couldn't. And so what we were introducing was AR, augmented reality, where you virtually try on this brow kit from your phone. We have that on our website right now. Well, when I was saying that, like, I was trying to get people to do it like back in January of last year and stuff. They was like, okay, girl, I'll do that later. Like, girl, I'm not doing that. And so, but then when COVID happened, it was like, what's that thing you were saying? What is that? You know, and so it turned into this like COVID proof, you know, ability. And so that really was something that really took off. And then I started doing something called Friday Night Lives on Facebook. So every Friday night at 8:00 Central Time, I get on there and I show women how to do their makeup so they can show up on Zooms like this or show up for their presentation virtually and know how to do their makeup themselves. Because when we surveyed our customers right at our email list right at the beginning of the pandemic and asked them, you know, we're launching, but at the same time, like, how can we serve you? They said, we're working from home and we don't know how to do our makeup. Like, and so every Friday night now we host the most live makeup party on the internet. And we show you how to do your makeup yourself. And that has really like launched our business in a way and accelerated it in a way that I would have probably procrastinated on before if it wasn't for the pandemic. Let's be honest, you got good ideas, but who really want to get in front of the camera all the time? Like, who really wants to do all that stuff? But I actually fell in love with it because the reason why I got into the beauty industry was to bring joy to women. And I love the way it made them feel. And so during the pandemic and this time of sorrow where we're knowing people that pass away, I mean, I've had family members pass away from COVID. We all have, you know, have loved ones or friends, customers, and we need some type of joy. And so this whole Friday Night Live that we do, the conversion is higher, right? Because it's live stream and it's live shopping and people, you know, sort of get into it and the conversion is higher than somebody just going to my website. But at the same time, it's a way that people can go back to it and use it as a tutorial again to know how to try something instead of going to go like rummage through YouTube to figure it out. So yeah, COVID has been a help in regards to that part, but it definitely made me very uncomfortable. And because I was used to running a store where I was in front of people every day. And so I had to really lean in and it brought something out of me that I didn't even know I had.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, I love that. It definitely changed patterns and somewhat in a good way. Like you said, prior to all of this, was not on video as much and definitely wasn't thinking about my lighting at the house. So now it's like figuring out makeup and trying to look good, at least from this side down, right? And making sure that we're able to, you know, continue business because we couldn't just stop business, right? Bills, everything else. So you had to figure out a way to be creative. So that Friday Night Live and that virtual, you know, trying on makeup where you normally will go and, you know, to Ulta's and just try on things before you buy. So even just being that creative is amazing. So I'm gonna go to the other two ladies, but I also want to jump into the conversation about transparency to your customers and the change in pricing and things because of COVID, right? Whether you're purchasing here locally or in China and the surging of those pricing and shipping, you know, as you said the other day, Kim, free shipping ain't really free shipping. So want to talk on that. I'll start with Sherelle because I know in a couple of conversations you and I have had, people were not going to work. So having work bags were, you know, not as important. And people just started going back to the office kind of sort of, and then back to the gym. So how did you navigate that? And then, you know, give your customers transparency of, hey, I may have to change our pricing because things are different.
Yeah. So yeah, the pandemic has hurt my especially last year, because you mentioned people, we just weren't going anywhere. Nobody needed, especially big bags. So I shifted. I started thinking about life. What do we do in life? Because previously I was promoting the bags as work and travel bags, and all of that stopped. But when we go to the grocery store, we have a little bag. When we're running errands, we have a little bag. So I started thinking about smaller bags and not so much as work bags. And then I came up with, what is it? Our life's journey. So over the summer, we were going to the beach. So I started designing a beach bag. So now it's more about life's journey, because we don't know what's going to happen, and really designing around what we do every day. But in regards to that, because everything has shifted and I manufacture overseas, everything is jacked up because of COVID, because of the travel issues, the logistics. And so I had to increase my pricing because I was losing money. I mean, that shipping is killing everybody. And if you're manufacturing overseas, you got the tariffs, and then on top of the tariffs, there's shipping. So yeah, we had to make that announcement of increasing the pricing a little bit. And as I mentioned, I think yesterday in the conversation, as long as you're transparent and you're always communicating with your customer, they are forgiving, and they may pay an extra $2 or $3 or what that is, and especially if you have loyal customers.
So Terry, I want to
Yeah.
switch to you also. Thank you so much, Sherelle. Speak on that as you're, building out your company and the products that go into your boxes, and speak about not only transparency, but the effects of COVID and kind of what your plan is as we're about to go to holidays, back to school, which is, I'm sure, a bigger time for you.
Yeah, so COVID was for the business was a blessing and a curse. Obviously for our world, it was a curse, right? And it's a very somber time, but we are in the business of play, right? So we're all about bringing joy to families and to kids. And so when we first became aware of COVID, March 2020, we were in the process of signing a bunch of schools and doing all this. And of course, schools had to stop and pivot to technology, right? Everybody needed laptops and hotspots. So that was like oh crap moment for us. And we're like, what are we gonna do? At that same time though, at the top of the year, we had already told all of our supporters, the folks that we send out our quarterly reports to, that we were going to be pivoting from what was then a subscription box company to a toy company, to a full-scale toy company. We wanted to go from being a curator to a creator of our own IP. And so we took that time. First of all, we applied for every grant that was out there, right? We applied for PPP and all of these things that can kind of be kind of fill the gap as we were trying to figure out our next steps and our way forward. But what happened was what we knew was going to happen, right? We knew that in the schools where we focus on Title I schools, high poverty, 85% Black schools, most of those kids' parents were essential employees. And so they weren't getting online at 10 o'clock in the morning and doing it because they were at work. And so what happened was schools started coming to us saying, we need something where the kids can keep learning, where they're having some fun, where it can be, where parents can do it when it's convenient for them. So we started getting inundated with orders from schools. And with that, we were able to complete our evolution to a toy company. So we had the schools that were kind of buffering and giving us the capital we needed for our product development for the toy company. In terms of, as I said, we produce in China. And so right now, anybody who's in consumer products and they're importing from China, that a container used to be around $2,000 to $3,000 to import a container. It is now $20,000 to $30,000 per container. So it is killing margins and it's killing emerging brands, right? So as all of these retailers have made these commitments to Black and brown founders and to get, to have a more diverse shelf space, then we get hit with this in terms of this log jam in terms of supply chain. So we're trying to figure out for that. We're trying to solve for that, right? So we can't. So for example, we already have our business award with Target. We can't change the price. We're set. So there's nothing we can do there. But because we're focused on, and I would encourage everyone to be focused on omni-channel sales and to not have all your bread and butter coming from one place. We are able to adjust those pricings on Amazon, on our own store, on the other retailers that we're working with. And so that's really how we're kind of solving for that. I will also say that those tariffs and those are things that need to be accounted for in your pricing. So before you set your pricing, really do some homework on what will it cost to bring this thing to market. What will it cost just to get it to your warehouse? Because everything, trucking, everything is all the costs are up, and they're going to continue to skyrocket through the holidays. And they're forecasting that this supply chain issue will not be solved until at least February 2022. And so those are things that if you're importing anything from outside of the United States, then you have to factor that in, because initially, 90% of toys are made in China. But now me and so many other folks are looking to how can we nearshore, right? And nearshoring is just producing closer to home. And so is there an opportunity to produce in Mexico? Is there an opportunity to produce, in Dominican Republic, or ideally here in the States? It's just been so cost prohibitive for so many years. But now with what's happening in terms of the cost to just get the product that would maybe cost you $1 to make, but then $10 to ship, you have to start considering some other ways to get your products and other places to get your products created.
You dropped a lot, Terry. That was great. I mean, so much information going from 2,000 to 3,000 to 20,000, 30,000, which is not even double. That's like, that's more than double, quadruple. And that's crazy. Yeah. And, one thing I've learned, and, the essentials of when you're starting a business, a startup especially, is having the right people in front of you first, the legal, the accounting. So, some people you're going to lose money on, but you want to make up for that on, other customers, and whether it's charging for shipping or charging for other things, or maybe just, taking away free and say, hey, we're going to charge for shipping for at least another year, and then hopefully be able to, to lower those prices. And that's the same thing in software. Like when you first building and you're shipping this product, you're like, okay, we're going to lose some money, but then we got to make up our margins 80-90% on the next customer, so we can break even and make sure our team is taken care of. So make sure, guys, you have an accountant start if you're not good with the numbers, so you can kind of create contracts accordingly. And before we move on to hiring, I want to jump into asking Sierra as well, as a company that just launched and, expanding and growing. How transparent are you being with your community? You built a pretty nice community with all your features and amazing investors that you have. How are you thinking about that as a young company of like, hey, we may have to change our pricing soon, or we may have to charge you for shipping, or things of that nature as an early company?
Well, I can speak on shipping, of course, and then like just our overall cost of goods, our shipping time, which is the most frequently asked question that we get. But when we first launched, we thought, of course, brands often offer like free shipping after a certain amount just to get people interested. And a lot of people did take advantage of that. And then after that first run, we were like, well, we can't really do that anymore, because one, shipping is expensive, and also we got way more traffic than we could have expected for a first run with the amount of marketing we did not spend. So it has to adjust accordingly to the demand, and then also like customer expectations. But I think what we've been able to kind of navigate and kind of be proud about is, we're not a fast fashion brand, and we don't market ourselves to be. And so you may have to wait a little bit longer to get our hair. And, we are always working to get that time down and to make sure that we're doing things right, doing it well, making sure that you're happy with the product, and not rushing to get it to you as soon as possible, or selling you something that's simply not there. And so, of course, we built all of this, most of it, during the pandemic, and then started actually shipping and distributing during the pandemic. So some people may not understand, and they won't come back. They won't keep checking the site. They won't subscribe. And that's okay for now, because we have a good number of customers who understand that we've done all this during a global pandemic, have stayed COVID free as much as we can, while also delivering braiding hair as fast as we can. So it's a game. It really is. But I think that we're navigating as best we can for a new brand.
You made a lot of good points because we're so used to Amazon next day, Grubhub, you get your food in an hour type situation, but it doesn't work like that for all products. Right?
I mean, and especially with like hair, like you can get it from any any hair store on the corner. Sometimes you can get it from a corner store, a convenience store, you get it on Amazon. It's literally everywhere. But that's the point we're trying to make. It's everywhere, and it's made out of plastic, and it goes right into the trash once it's done. And it's not what we're trying to replicate. That's not the model that we want to be. We're really making our own way.
I love that. It's important. You can get it everywhere, but it's cheap. We no longer want cheap hair in our head. That's
right.
That's the updated marketing. So I want to switch to hiring and talent and finding great people for your company, because as we seen in a lot of reports, it's a shortage of talent, and probably was happening prior to COVID, but especially with COVID. And now, smaller companies, startups are competing with large companies after talent in different ways. Now you don't have to be in the same city, and you don't have to fly here. It's like you can be wherever you are, because we're now looking at working from home continuously. So smaller companies trying to compete for similar roles, whether it's data science and engineers and all of that. How are you attracting and or maintaining the talent that you have now? And what can you say to other startups like, hey, as a startup, this is what you can offer that big companies cannot? So I will start with Kim.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind on that is what I can offer, and what my team appreciates is flexibility. I think that, being that once you, for me, I like to hire for character, like for the faith, the belief in what we're doing. And, we have a small team, but like, for instance, one of my, very important team members, who's like my right hand, just had, my little baby nephew. And, when we think about maternity, it wasn't one of those things where it's just like strict, like just this amount of time, and just understanding, like, now she works around her schedule of like nursing, right? Her schedule is not really dependent on a 9 to 5, it's dependent on he take naps from 12 to 2, right? And then he goes to bed. Like, it's those different type of flexibility things that other companies maybe not understand. And at this point of where we are, we're able to do that. And I think that, that's the part that we offer. We were remote, before remote was cool. And so we're all remote. And when I think about the team, I think the best part that we can offer is that flexibility, and that part to really bring your whole self and not try to hide, like, again, that you need to nurse at a certain time, or we are living in a pandemic. Sierra brought up the fact of like trying to stay COVID free, like, like the whole situation around mental health, and like, having conversations and us having time to actually talk, just like about what's going on in our lives. I mean, all those different things that just make you a whole person. And for me, I needed to, because I'm just a person trying to work too and live and be a mother and a wife and all that stuff too. So I think that's the part that we can offer that maybe larger companies, you might not get that. And then the last thing I must say, on our team, you're a superstar, right? At a startup, baby, you are important. Girl, you are, girl, guy, you are important. You know what I mean? You is smart, you is kind, and you is important. Okay, at a big company, you might not get that. On our team, you are important. And so I think that's the other part that we can offer people, and that's something that money can't buy.
Yes, I love all of that. Yeah, my team of 8, I'm like, do you, everybody, you're just as important as the CTO and everybody else in this company, and every opinion is, validated, right? That's a good thing about a small team. Collaboration is more important because you're a small team. So I'm gonna jump to Sierra on that question. Like, how are you maintaining or obtaining new talent, especially with the competition being what it is right now?
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing everyone else's responses, because I'm struggling with hiring. This is, my first company where I've had to bring in others. And so I'm learning from others on best practices for bringing in the right talent, not just any talent, but like at a startup of our stage, like who do we need to be successful? What are the things that I need to be looking for? How do you put together a compensation package? Like what is it that will make someone stop working at their cushy job to come work for a startup? So, you know, we're right now hiring an operations manager. We'll start interviewing next week. And this role was really vital for us because I'm running our ops, and that is not one of my key strengths. I do hiring, firing, sales, next big opportunity, and fundraising. And that's where I need to be prioritizing. And so to fill a role like operations manager, which feels so heavy on me, and having to find the right person who could do it better than I can, has been a really big lift. But I think because of the vision that we've set and the mission that we have, people believe, and now it's just a matter of getting them to come do some of that hard work, that heavy lifting with us. And then another thing that I think has been unique for us so far is we have in our warehouse a staff of all young women who are making our products, all Black women, if I can add that. And they are just having fun. You know, it's not a beauty salon, it's not working at Amazon, and it's not working in a true warehouse. They enjoy each other and they enjoy making our products. And so we've been able to kind of build that organically. And as long as we can maintain that from top to bottom, I think that we'll do well talent wise.
I love that. You make really good points, like just doing what you're good at and hiring for, you know, what you're not good at, or what I say, if you just don't want to do, right? It's just like, sometimes that's okay as well. So Terry, I'll switch to you. How are you obtaining and maintaining your talent?
Yeah, so I think transactionally, for me, it's when I'm looking at my, building out the executive team, it's about, offering shares in the business, right? We want them to really be invested in the business, right? So I can't pay market, which I'm very clear on at this point. So that's one of the things. So what's the upside of that is offering them some shares in Brown Toy Box and helping us grow this thing to where we know that we can and we will be. To your question about, it competing with other folks for talent, I think it really is more of those entry level folks that is really hard to get. Because there's so many options out there, and particularly over this last year, it seems like that market has really shrank. So it's really being able to present them with different opportunities to learn and to grow and to touch things, and to be able to explore different parts of the business that they're excited about. Like, this is your job, these are things you have to do, but then here's some other opportunities to touch. If you want to go on a video shoot to do this and try and explore your creative side, we can do that. Or if you want to, sit with the accountant and you want to learn about that, you can do that too, to really see, what is the space that we really need help in, what is your skill set, right? What are you good at? And then and trying to figure out, where those two areas really have some alignment. And then just really focusing on, I am one of those folks that for some reason, now what I will tell you is I fire fast. So I do not believe in dragging that out. It's not fair to everybody else when you've got someone that's a drag on the company. So I will fire fast, but I also am very optimistic, and I believe in giving everybody an opportunity. Sometimes I see things in people that probably aren't really there. So what I've started doing is really using my advisory board to help vet folks when I'm interviewing. So I can love somebody, right? But then I'll have two of my folks on my advisory team talk to those folks, and they interview them as well. So it's not just me either really liking them or being desperate to fill that role, saying, oh, they'd be great, but they have no operations experience, but I'm trying to hire them as an operations manager, right? Like, oh, they could get there. It doesn't make sense. I'm just making that desperate decision. So having a thought partner in my advisory board and other folks on the team to say, hey, we know that you need help. We'll figure out ways to kind of solve for that right now, but let's not, make that investment, because when you invest in a person, that's a lot of training. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of your IP. That's a lot of, look, changing email addresses and codes and all that kind of stuff, right? And so who wants to go through all of that? So I think it's about, how they say, what do they, carpenters say, measure twice, cut once. I think it's the same idea in terms of hiring, just really trying to do all of that on the front end, but also setting the culture, right? So we're about fun. We can't be a toy company and be very serious and very whatever. We like to have fun and, you know, and really living our ideals. And so I think when people come in and they see that and they, you know, they see the characters and they want to be a part of that, right? And so it's about just creating a space that people want to be in, because you know, I think, you know, for a lot of startups, you're not going to pay market right away. And so it's getting people invested and involved that really believe in your mission. My toy designer has 30 years of experience from Hasbro, Mattel, Horizons Group, but he said his whole career led him to this role because he's never designed things that really had focused on cultural representation, that celebrated Black children, those kind of things. So he's all about it. Is he getting paid market rate? No, but will he'll be beyond that, and he gets that, he understands that. So finding people that just really are on board with your mission.
You touched on a lot, and I want to go back into a couple of things, but then I want to get to Sherelle, and then we're coming up on an hour, and I knew we were going to dive deep and so much more we can touch on. But one, the fact that you mentioned that your tour designer has been in these industries before and worked for, you know, big companies, and he's never worked on a product like yours. That's bad in itself, right? Yeah. Like just showing the type of and lack thereof for products like that for people of color. So that can be another hour conversation, but I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah.
And two, you know, when you mentioned like when you're bringing on someone and then hiring them and then letting them go, you changing emails. Remember, they have to sign NDAs, accountants, healthcare. Like it's so much that goes into those people. So just making sure that you're making a good decision, and they're now, you know, in front of your proprietary information, and just making sure everything legally, financially is set up correctly for those folks, because it can mess up your company in the long run if you don't hire correctly or let go correctly, right?
Absolutely. And then if you don't have the right contract in place, so you're saying any of this is work product, right? So this is not, you did this, but you did this for Brown Toy Box. And so those kind of things, just making sure that I can't stress enough. We get so excited about the thing that we're creating, but it's the business that we really have to get excited about. Because if you don't have all that buttoned up, you know, it's cute, but it's gone.
Right, it's cute, but it's gone. Tweet it. Everybody tweet that out. And so I'm gonna close out with you, and then I'm trying to jump into questions. I don't even know if we have time at this point, but I said it was gonna be a good conversation. So Terrell, I wanna speak to you about your hiring, and then make sure we close out, ladies, with promotion of your product, places where we can find you on social media, and then we wanna get to Black and Brown founders to talk a little bit about what they do, and then close out and kind of speak about the next event as well. So Sherelle, you're on mute.
I'll just add this a little bit because I think everybody already touched on some really great points. I recently posted a job on, I think it was ZipRecruiter, and I put in there each scenario, like if a customer did this, how would you handle that? I put that as a part of the application. So there were questions, they were pre-qualifying questions that they had to do, and they had to write something. So out of, I don't know, I did it one of those freebies, 100 over 2 days or 3 days. Out of 106 people that completed the application, that looked at the application, only one completed all of the answers. So you can start there with pre-qualifying questions to see what type of person that you're looking for and what you're going to get. But I think all of the points that the ladies made are very good points, and we should all follow those.
Very good point. That's good. I'm gonna use that. Like, how would you handle the situation? That's really important. We do have a question, and then I'm gonna have everyone close out with websites and social media before we jump on to Black and Brown founders. So this question is for Kim. How has the pandemic affected your ability to source raw materials for your products?
So, you know, when it comes to that, some have been affected. But at the same time, some of the suppliers that we've been working with, we still were able to get ingredients from. But our lab, you know, as far as the time frame in which it happened, there was issues there. this, the actual labor as well. There's issues there. The shipping times, all of that were affected as well. And just a heads up, there's a shipping surge that will be happening this holiday season. But yeah, I think too, when you think about like raw ingredients and all that too, saying that you're going to be able to launch a product in 3 months, versus saying, oh no, it's really going to take 9 months. Like I think also to taking some of that pressure off of you, sort of, bagging up a little bit. Maybe you may not be launching products as often as you would like because of that. But sort of, doing that. I used to be very ambitious around what we're going to come out with, all that kind of stuff. And I really took a step back on that. And yeah, so the pandemic did affect some of it. But at the same time, because we already had some things in stock and all of that, then it didn't hurt us as bad.
All right, so I'm gonna have you close out with your social media, website, and if you have any final words, I'll like 30 seconds because we have like 2 minutes left, and then I'll get to the ladies.
Well, definitely, I'd love to ask you to go over to Ulta.com and shop Lamique there. That would be very impactful. And also too, it'll open up doors for more people. And we're Lamique Beauty on there, and the Revelation Brow Duo is there, mascara, brow gel, all that good stuff. And then on social media, we're just at Lamique Beauty. Come over there. Anybody that DMs us on Instagram, I'm gonna give you a special discount code. So send us a message.
Awesome. Thank you. Sierra, close out.
Well, thanks for having me again. And it was so great to hear from all the other founders. Really inspiring to soak up and absorb all the things that you guys have learned in your businesses. You can follow us at rebundle.co on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And subscribe to our newsletter. It's the first place we let people know that our products are available for purchase. Thank you.
Awesome. Sherelle?
So you can first, thank you so much for having me as well. And you can follow us on at Minky Blue. And if anybody has a product idea and they just don't know where to start, then you can sign up for a course that I have at Startup with Cheryl.
All right. And Terry?
Sure. All of our social is at Brown Toy Box. And if you are a product company and you want to connect on LinkedIn, I'm Terry Nichelle Bradley on LinkedIn. That is my honey hole, my source for everything is LinkedIn. And so I just want to say thank you for having me today. This has been amazing. I'm so inspired by all these women, and I want to buy something from everybody. So this was really good. So thank you.
Awesome.
Oh, wait, and we launch in Target in October. So be looking for us in October in Target, and you can buy some of our products now on thevillageretail.com. And we will be relaunching our website in September.
Woo! Awesome. Yes to the plugs. And we're gonna go to Sarita so she can quickly talk about Black and Brown founders, and then we're gonna close out.
And can somebody take a screenshot? Because I couldn't. So please take a screenshot.
Yeah, I think Sharita did. Did she take a screenshot?
I did not.
Okay, we're gonna do it.
We can make sure we get that done. I don't want to take up any time at all. I really just want to reemphasize all of the links that were dropped. Ultra.com. Make sure you purchase Lamique Beauty, LAMIK. All right. Minky Blue, MINKEEBLUE.com. Brown Toy Box. October and Target, we need to make sure they sell out. Let's get that done, and also keep the relaunch of their website that's happening in September on our radars. And then also rebundle.co, REBUNDLE. Okay, make sure you get your bundles. When it comes to BBF, it's really about exactly everything that has happened here. We provide community education and access to Black and Latinx entrepreneurs, allowing them to launch and build tech businesses with modest resources. All of the amazing women that you have had the chance to sit at their feet and scoop up the gems that have been offered here today by way of Project W, by way of Stimulus. That's That's just like what we try to align ourselves with. One thing that we are very excited about that we are launching is a micro grant, 2,500 to 5K that you can get if you are enrolled in our bootstrapping boot camp. The applications are due by September 11th. If you go to any of our social media websites, there's more information there. You can go to blackandbrownfounders.com for more information. That's it. I don't want to take up any more time, but this y'all, every single one of y'all understood the assignment, and I'll leave it at that.
I love it, ladies. So I know we didn't get a chance to get too many questions, but we will follow up with all of the attendees and folks that was not able to attend for them to ask questions at a later date, and make sure that we put your social and then launching in Target and Ulta and websites of that nature so they can, obtain your products. And I want to thank our panelists and our attendees for joining the conversation, and look forward to our next one in October, which will be here soon because it's about to be September. Oh, I know, crazy. So thank you so much.